elevator car operational panel. Before we begin our in-depth look, I'm going to start by saying this came out of a hotel in Durham, North Carolina. It was originally called the Crown Park Hotel by Best Western, and is now being transformed into a Hilton Garden Inn. And basically the elevators were being updated for ADA compliance, and there was a little mix-up and this panel was removed. So I know a family member of mine's in the hotel industry, and they were able to acquire this panel because there's nothing wrong with it. It was fully operational, except it was removed accidentally. This did come off of a traction elevator. It served obviously 7 floors, as you could see. So anyway, let's get into the better in-depth look of this panel. So we'll start by taking a look at the indicator. Now here we are looking at the impulse indicator. It is just your standard impulse indicator. You have your capacity, your nameplate with your, of course, elevator company, your capacity, and your emergency lighting. Up here is your floor indicator, which basically indicates which floor you are on. And what's interesting about this is on some of the newer elevators, the numbers are basically situated in one location in the indicator. They don't travel across the indicator, as I'm about to show you. It's basically just 1 or 2 of these little box LED things, and basically what it is the number doesn't travel across the indicator like this. Alright, ready? This is going to be kind of hard to do. See, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and lobby. On the newer indicators, some of the newer indicators, as I just showed you, they don't travel across the indicator. They'll be stationary in one location, which I guess you'd call those real LEDs. I'm not exactly sure. So now we'll move down to the fixture part of the panel. So now your basic passenger elevator is composed of these fixtures. To start, we have the door close button. There are 2 or 3 purposes for this button, and it is the first is it gives the passenger a feeling of control over the elevator. As funny as that sounds, that is true. The second is it plays an important role in the fire service. And the third is it plays an important part in the independent service. And it is just your standard impulse button. Next we have the alarm button, which of course push to ring, and that signals if the elevator car stops moving and you become trapped. You basically hold that button down and it will ring a bell either in the shaft way or outside the elevator landings. And in some high-rise buildings, surprisingly enough, by pushing this, it actually automatically dials a phone. So if you don't see a phone in some of the high-rise buildings, sometimes it'll link up to the phone. If your stop or on switch, which in this case we're unstopped because this panel is non-functional, and basically that's for, you know, if say you're inspecting the pit or something, flip it to stop, and of course it'll stop the car. And some of the older elevators, like interestingly enough, I think New York City's codes require them to have a push button, which you also have a door open button, which is used for someone trying to run and catch the elevator as the doors are closing, or for long periods of keeping the door open for loading. And that is your standard impulse button. Here we have the your standard landing floor buttons, and these 2 are standard impulse push buttons. And these are the impulse buttons with contacts. A few things I'd like to point out here. First thing is the little star here that indicates the main floor of the building. The reason they have that is because sometimes the main floor can vary. You could have a lobby where your guests check in, but the main entrance and exit can be on the second floor. And then one more thing I'm going to do is actually you can see it from here. These little dots beneath the numbers are brailles, which of course elevators that meet up to code, you will see those on. And those can be in-car, and you'll also see them on the brailles outside the elevator car, which are basically the floor number that you are on, and they will have these little dots underneath. And then a tip with this is, as you can tell here, the numbers vary in size. This particular panel was originally a Dover Impulse panel, but ThyssenKrupp basically came and put their label over it. As you can tell by the number size here, some of the newer ThyssenKrupp models will actually have a smaller number here. And that's how you could tell if the panel was originally installed by ThyssenKrupp. As we move up the panel, you will notice an area towards the top of the COP, and is usually the last row, and it is dedicated to your fire service, which I'll explain here in a second, and key switches. Now, certain elevators, certain models will actually have a cover over this, and I don't know if inside the cover is actually just switches or if it's key switches. I'm sure that's for more trafficated buildings and more buildings with higher security. Upon your standard Impulse COP, you'll have your inspection key switch, which allows a elevator inspector to inspect the elevator while taking it out of normal operation. Those two features, independent service will actually also take it out of normal operation. It'll disable the floor passing chime, or as you may refer to it, is the Dover buzz, beep. It'll actually cancel other calls placed. So if someone has a call placed on the 6th floor and you are going to the 7th floor, it'll pass the 6th floor without actually stopping. Then most, if not all, of your elevator, Impulse elevators will have a key switch dedicated to the light and fan. The light key switch actually doubles as a fan key switch. As you can see, it says high, low, and off, and that is for the fan. Basically, you'll insert your Dover H2395 key, and you can change the settings to at your desire. The inspection key switch takes the Dover H1848, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I am wrong. And the independent service actually takes the H2395, as it has been tested. Next, you have your fire service area up here. If I'm not mistaken. Now listen to the difference between these two buttons.